Madam Mayor, it's 6 o'clock. Are you ready to begin the meeting?
So hit.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Good evening and welcome to the Petaluma City Council and the Petaluma Community Development Successor Agency regular meeting on Monday, November 7th, 2022. May we have a roll call, please?
Barrett,
Here.
Barnacle,
Here.
Fisher, Healy,
Here.
McDonald,
Here.
Posake.
Here.
Let the record reflect Councilmember King is absent. All other members are present.
Thank you. And at this point, we're going to go into closed session. And the closed session item is public employee performance evaluation. And this is pursuant to paragraph 1 of subdivision B of the California Government Code, section 54957. And the title for the performance evaluation is city clerk. And I will ask our city clerk if she's received any comments prior to tonight's meeting.
No comments received prior to the meeting, Madam Mayor.
Okay, and there's no one in the chambers for any public comments, so I'll ask the moderator to check, see if there's anybody online who would like to speak to the closed session item.
No, Madam Mayor, there's no one in the Zoom meeting that has their hand up.
Fine. Okay, so the city council is going to adjourn to closed session, and we should be back either at the close of, at the close of business or at 6:30, whichever one comes last. So we'll be back at 6:30. Are we ready to start? Okay.
Madam Mayor, are you ready to proceed with regular session?
I'm ready to begin, yes. Thank you. Okay, so good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Petaluma City Council and the Petaluma Community Development Successor Agency for Monday, November 7th, 2022. I will now invite Monica Aparicio and Gustavo Sanchez to provide information for those who want to listen in Spanish.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hola, me llamo Mónica y estoy aquí con mi compañero de interpretación, Gustavo. Estamos hoy aquí como intérpretes. Este evento se llevará a cabo en español y en inglés. Se usarán ambos idiomas activamente, así que usted podrá elegir un canal para participar en su idioma preferido después de que le hayamos explicado cómo funciona la interpretación. Después de que termine esta explicación, se activará la función de interpretación. Si usted está conectado por una computadora, verá como un icono de un mundo aparece en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Si está conectado con una tableta o teléfono, pulse el más y verá un menú que incluye la opción de interpretación de idiomas. Para escuchar la interpretación, pulse el icono del mundo o interpretación de idiomas y a continuación elija el idioma que prefiere. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Barrett,
Here.
Barnacle,
Here.
Fisher, Healy,
Here.
McDonald,
Here.
Hosake.
Yeah, here.
Let the record reflect Councilmember King is absent. All other members are present.
Thank you, and now we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now have a moment of silence. Thank you. There are no agenda changes or deletions to the current agenda, and there is no report out of closed session. So now we'll go to general public comment, and I have one speaker card for those people who are here at City Hall, and I will ask our city clerk if she's received any general public comments for tonight's meeting.
Madam Mayor, we did not receive any general public comments prior to the meeting.
Thank you. Are there any general public comments for people who are on our Zoom audience?
No, Madam Mayor, there are no general comments.
Madam Mayor, there are a couple with their hands raised, so we'll now set a timer.
Oh, well, do you want to just see if so those are people who want to speak to to general public comment?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So that's, and you said there's a couple, so there's only two?
There are two, but let me set our 30
Oh,
second timer real
okay,
quick.
thank you.
At this time, I will start a 30-second clock for general public comment. Members of the public attending in person should bring their speaker cards to the clerk's desk if they have not already done so. Members of the public attending online or by phone should raise their virtual hand or press star 9 if participating by phone. Madam Mayor, we have two speakers with their hands up.
Thank you very much. So that means each speaker will have 3 minutes, and we'll start with Peter Cherneff, who is here in City Council chambers.
Good evening. Here we are in Petaluma, the greatest little city in the world. And only through Almighty God's Spirit can I accomplish anything. I know that. Truthfully and sincerely, I apologize to our Mayor, Teresa Barrett, and the City Council for having crossed the line of the Aretha Franklin's RESPECT, perhaps more than once. For in so doing, I also disrespected the Goddess Almighty Creator. For as I sought to share a light upon the enemy of life, being the thief of souls, releasing the intention, embracing the promised land's goals. Shaddai, Shaddai, Adonai, Shaddai, having traveled with the Navajo blessing way, these code talkers help save the day, for truly, truly the enemy obscures comprehension by blurring our vision, thereby maintaining every version of division. I am Peter, as I am binding all warmongering, deceiving jargon. I am utilizing the keys to righteously appease from the one who has fulfilled the bargain. I am binding the slaughterhouse sword in the name of the living Lord, so too binding industry of oil and coal on behalf of Genesis Garden's goal. I am releasing love's power and authority by which who some be the authority to overcome. I am releasing all constraints by anti-Semites and freeing our Israeli brother Leonard Peltier, so saith the living Lord, commanding truth to power, free of all fear. I am binding every asset and facet of that God-agreed mammon, as I am releasing our U.S. Constitution as primary law of the land. Under this wonderfully dutiful full moon, with this most beautiful tune, united together with the life-affirming sun, at high noon, no shadows can run. I say it, you hear it, so it is done. The reign of peace, the reign of justice, liberty, and freedom unto peace has begun. Om, om, om. Amen, amen, aho. 43 seconds to go. Well, I happen to have the winning lottery ticket in my pocket, so I'm wondering, what should I do with $929 million? I think I'll give half of it to the city to do the garden and homeless programs. I hope that's acceptable. And I wish you all a very beautiful evening. Thank you kindly.
Thank you, Peter. I hope you win. Okay, so now we can go to our Zoom audience.
Yes, and we have Taryn Obaid, who is the first online speaker. Taryn, I am going to allow you to talk or unmute you now.
Hi, good evening. I want to make a comment tonight about something that I really strongly believe in, as I know that all of you do, and that is democracy and serving the people. And what I want to say is, in the corporate world, conflict of interest is taken very seriously. And in government, The interest is for the people. It's not for profit. Sure, it's for smart and responsible fiscal management, but it's not for putting profits over public safety. And I want to call your attention to what do I mean? Well, in the corporate world, conflict of interest goes beyond whether somebody's actually financially benefiting. You know, they take the extra precaution of the appearance of a conflict of interest. Avoid any appearance of conflict of interest. Well, I submitted a Public Records Act request to the city about a year ago to get details on our flood modeling and last September's attempt by staff to roll back our floodway for some huge developer parcels, developers that contribute to some of our city council members' campaigns. And it took me over 10 months to get information, and I still don't have what I asked for. But the one thing I want to talk about tonight is, why is it that a developer that currently has 2 developments going on right now that they're building, one in the floodway, one in a floodplain area, has been hired to do our flood map surveying? To me, that's just a non-starter. No way. All right, I think we need to look at doing policy and procedures that really move us in the direction that we all want to move in, and that is to be best in class city management for environmentally protecting what we have here. We need to get an ordinance that stops the wetland credit trading, and we also need to change our policy like Los Angeles did 20 years ago to stop allowing developers such as LaFranchi to do their own flood surveying on their parcels. Yes, he did that for the Casa Grande project. And yes, Stephen LaFranchi was hired to do the modeling for our the map surveying for our new flood modeling. And Steve LaFranchi has Riverbend with 3 homes in the floodway, and he also still has Casa Grande that he's constructing. To me, that is unacceptable, and I'd like that to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Taryn. The next speaker is Darren Ratcusen. Darren, I will allow you to talk and reset the timer for 3 minutes.
Thank you. And just to build on Taryn's comments a little bit, I know there have been, over the past 6 or 8 months, there have been a couple big environmental initiatives pushed forward at the grassroots level, riverfront moratoriums, protecting floodplains, things of that nature. And I know some of those were deemed as something that couldn't be implemented via ordinance or public policy. Specifically, I'm thinking of the riverfront development moratorium. I know there are council members who have expressed their desire to protect the river, but that wasn't the vehicle. And a lot of those decisions were then pushed to the general plan. And in the last general plan meeting I attended, it was a little frustrating in that there was very little public engagement. And you got the feeling that Ramey and Associates and the 19 general plan members really were the voices that are going to predominate this general plan. So if some of these grassroots initiatives that, again, were kind of pushed off to the general plan process, a lot of those kind of lay at to be decided by those voices that were in the conversation. I know there's a lot of the process to go, but I want to kind of make that for folks who are involved and the citizens listening in, that the general plan process, we need to make sure we're involved. So some of these key initiatives we've been talking about and trying to push forward that got moved to or got put into the arena of the general plan, or deemed that would be the best way to implement them. We need to make sure we're showing up and having our voices heard and kind of pushing into that process to make sure some of this takes effect. And then my second comment was just going to be about the past 2 weeks kind of fallout, everyone talking about the fairgrounds decision. And I want to say that it seemed to me, in reviewing it again and reviewing the data presented, the general narrative emerged that 4th District was kind of this slumlord not doing a good job. The city would be better managers. We would get control over the property to implement a community vision more effectively than they would. But in reading the staff report again, it felt like there was a lot of datum. There was a lot of information about deferred maintenance, about environmental considerations. And then there was kind of and the healthy democracy findings from that group. And there was kind of a final judgment rendered that, yes, the city should take hold. But I'm not sure that data was strung together to kind of make the case to lead to that judgment. That's what I left with, and speaking with people about it and sharing what was discussed. And it wasn't clear the line. So I'm not sure if it just that narrative wasn't explicitly said. Here's why we're taking over. Here's why 4th District is not the way to go. The city is the way to go. And so, yeah, I think the Argus Courier kind of characterized that well in the article they put out about it. But those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's the end of general public comment.
Yes, Madam Mayor, there are no more speakers for public comment.
Thank you. With that, we'll close general public comment, and we will bring it to the council for council comment. And I'll start down with Councilmember Fisher.
I have nothing this evening. I don't have to see if it's actually working.
Is that working? Do we have another one that she could use right now? Oh. Let's see how that one goes.
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. No comment from Councilmember Fisher, and we'll go to Councilmember Barnacle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Parks and Recreation, or Music Parks and Recreation Commission, Music Parks and Recreation Commission met a few weeks ago. The most notable item was we had a presentation on the McNair baseball fields, and there was a proposal from a resident, kind of coming from the baseball community, I would say, to build a fence in the outfield, sort of separate the dog park from the baseball field. What it really turned into, we actually had probably close to over 75 public comments on it, maybe more. And what it really turned into was an acknowledgement that there's a real gopher problem there. And then we really dug into it, and the turfs, or the artificial turf fields, have a fund. When you rent something, it goes into a turf fund, but fields don't have that. So all the field rentals, which I think for McNair was about $10,000 just for the baseball teams that practice there. That goes into our general fund, and there's no money for gopher abatement. The equipment that we had to basically keep our grass fields in good conditions broke and has not been replaced, and there's not plans to replace it. And so what really came out of that meeting was just an acknowledgement that we don't have the funding allocated to maintain our fields. We don't have the equipment that we need for it. And when we asked how much we needed, there wasn't, we didn't get an answer. And so what we asked for was basically that certainly in the next budget cycle that we get a proposal of what would it cost to have nice fields, so that the council can make a decision of, and what the opportunity cost would be, what we wouldn't do, because we've been replacing a lot of different things all over the place, but we have not been maintaining our fields. And so we should be, probably as part of the next budget cycle, getting a good understanding of what it would cost to have nice green fields.
Thank you. Councilmember Healy.
So I'm going to veer a bit off of my prepared comments and agree with Councilmember Barnacle that we have gopher issues in many of our city parks, and I think we're all most familiar with the parks in our neighborhoods. But when you talk to people, it's really citywide, and I really hope that we can surge gopher eradication in our next budget, and that shouldn't be that expensive to do. I'd love to see us do that. I know my neighborhood park is kind of a gopher condominium complex, so, and it's been like that for a long time. Moving on, the Water Advisory Committee met this morning in person, which is nice. And I can report on a few things. Lake Sonoma is currently at 103,000 acre feet in the water supply pool. It would be full at 245,000 acre feet. It's obviously a long way from there. 103,000 acre feet is actually the lowest Lake Sonoma has been since it filled after that dam was constructed several decades ago. So we're hoping for a good winter. We'll see what happens. I would say that in terms of water conservation, and we got this handout, and I'm not quite sure why they're comparing to 2013 as a benchmark year, but for Petaluma, just throwing this information out there, year to date in 2013, we had used about 2.5 billion gallons of water in Petaluma. Year to date this year, it's 1.7 billion gallons of water.
Wow.
So some of that's ongoing conservation. So it's a 33% reduction. Some of it's just ongoing conservation efforts over the years. Some of it is the extra efforts that have been made in the last 2 drought years. But that's typical for all the water contractors, and that's pretty remarkable in the face of modest population growth. So a 33% reduction in the last 9 years. And that's a trend line that doesn't look like it's going to go away anytime soon.
And I think it's also reflected in our parks conditions, just FYI.
That's true. But, as we continue to roll out more tertiary recycled to parks and playgrounds, and people continue to mulch over lawns, so it's a good thing. One thing that came up that is of interest, the water agency, as we're starting to emerge from COVID, is recommencing tours of some of its facilities. And if any members of the council or senior staff have never been to the Wohler complex where the collectors are, especially Collector 6, which is an engineering marvel, I might say, the inflatable dam that you always hear about, and the fish ladder and the infiltration ponds, they're starting to start up those tours again, and I would encourage members of the council and senior staff to take advantage of that if you haven't been there, because it gives you a much better idea of what these critical pieces of infrastructure are. So that's all I had for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Posake.
Thank you. Thanks you, Madam Mayor. I had a meeting of the Continuum of Care in October, and we're working hard to finish up during this calendar year before we get large changes in the composition of that board on completing an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding with the county as lead agency for homelessness, also working on final approval of a new strategic plan for the county with the consultant home base. And also our new funding and evaluation committee really working on updating our approach to ordering funding requests for a variety of funders. And finally, again, beginning the Built for Zero exercise, where we're currently working on moving towards a by names list for the entire countywide by names list, which won't happen today or tomorrow, but in the future. And finally, I was treated to some excellent artistic performances at the first event at the Polyclass Theater last Friday night. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember McDonald.
Thank you. Before hitting my prepared remarks, I'd like to join in on the fields need a boost and more love than they get. As long as I've been involved in youth soccer in town, that's been an issue. And I've met with more public works or park and rec department heads to try and improve that. And it's always that's the funding challenge, whether anything happens. And We have gotten our hands around a little bit of the Clay and Fisher's problem, but the gopher problem is coming on strong, and we're getting a lot of calls this year from Prince Park, which is again one that has had numerous reports to the cities years and years ago. But it's a huge challenge to keep them busy, which is why I'm hoping that when we get a price for what it would be to do field maintenance, it would include our newest park, the Riverfront. There's going to be a full-size soccer pitch at Riverfront, and they're not seeding it yet, I don't believe, because of drought, but it's supposed to be a natural grass field, and I think what we've proven is that putting in artificial turf on a field like that is much more efficient and economical. And so I'd like to see the numbers on what it would take to make that switch back to the proposal that was done by Park and Recreations when that subdivision was approved, and by planning when that subdivision was approved. So that's a little digression, I apologize, but a real good topic. The Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee met last week, and a lot of discussions about the safety improvements, the quick build on D Street, and the meeting that was held with the neighbors and all the input. And it's quite a bit of proposed change. I think we all should be paying attention and reading the city's webpage about what could happen to make it safer on D Street. Let's see. Also, the North Bay Watershed Association met this week at Ellis Creek Treatment Plant. A lot of discussion of what the city's doing for recycled water and getting it out into the neighborhoods, and all the other regional players on recycled water all commented in, and I really want to thank the staff for their great presentation. There was also a presentation by Friends of the River for the Greenway north of Lynch Creek, and that was really well received, and hope everybody gets a chance to see that. And it's been busy with public events, like Councilman Posake said. Many of us were council members were at the Polyclass grand opening, and that was quite a good thing. And several of us attended the Dia de los 100 event at the Civic Center, celebrating the Latinx community. And many of us were at the Relief event this past week, and you know, what a great group they are. Thank you.
There is always a lot getting done in Petaluma. So I did attend the Library Advisory Board meeting, and I just wanted to let the community know that they are considering expanding the size of that board in order to increase diversity, equity, and inclusion issues. So if anybody is interested in serving on the Library Advisory Board, contact the library, because I think that you may be needed. And I just wanted to respond to a public comment that was made about that there was very little public engagement at the GPAC meeting. And I think people aren't very clear about the fact that the GPAC is a public meeting. It is a group of public volunteers that have volunteered to be on this committee. That is the public speaking to the city staff. And that is, you know, what we have asked people to do. So I think people think once you become a commissioner or a committee member or a board member, you're no longer a member of the public. That is the role of the public, and that's the best role for the public, because you get to be a voting member. So I just want to be clear that so that people understand that when we're talking about these different committees and commissions, that is the public speaking. So I think people need to understand that a little bit more clearly. So with that, I'm going to ask our city manager if she would like to make a report.
Thank you, Mayor. And on dovetailing with your library advisory participation, we are also currently accepting applications for vacancies on the Public Art Committee, our Transit Advisory Committee, and Youth Commission, and applications are available on the city website. Tomorrow is Election Day, so if you haven't done so already, make sure to get out and vote. Visit the elections page on our city website for voting information. including vote centers and ballot drop box locations. And that's it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, we're on to the consent calendar. We have 12 items on our consent calendar. Is there anyone on the council who would like to remove anything? Not seeing anyone. I will ask our city clerk if she has received any public comment on the consent calendar items.
Madam Mayor, no public comment.
Oh, sorry.
Madam Mayor, no public comments on the consent calendar.
Fine, thank you. I have no cards on the public comment, on the consent calendar items. Are there any hands raised? I will ask the moderator in our Zoom audience.
Yes, there is, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so let's open public comment on the consent calendar item. And if you are speaking to the consent calendar, can you, hopefully, if you could give us the number of the item you're speaking to? That would be helpful.
During public comment on agenda items, the public is invited to make comments on the particular agenda item that is being presented to the City Council. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Members of the public attending in person should bring their speaker cards to the clerk's desk. The mayor will announce the speaker name and the name of the speaker to follow. Members of the public attending in person and speaking on an agenda item should come to the podium. The speaker to follow should come to the on-deck speaker chair. The public microphone will be turned off when the speaker's allotted time expires. Speakers whose comments do not pertain to the particular agenda item being addressed may have their microphone muted or turned off and may lose some of or all of their remaining allotted time if they fail to return to the agenda item before the council. Members of the public attending online or by phone should raise their virtual hand or press *9 if participating by phone. The moderator will call on participants in turn to unmute themselves and begin speaking. Virtual attendees will be muted when their allotted time expires or when their comments have concluded, whichever comes first. Speakers are encouraged to be respectful. Threats of violence or obscenity are grounds for removal from the meeting. And we have Ben Peters. Ben, I'm going to unmute you, and you can begin your 3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. This is in relation to item 4, the energy efficiency audit. Exciting to see this come before the City Council after a while, working its way through the process. I would just like to highlight and make a request that the work of the consultant be done at least in reporting, if not collaboration, with certain members of the Climate Action Commission, such as the Buildings Ad Hoc. They are experts in this field and certainly have some good ideas regarding the work that the consultant can do in support of our climate initiatives. I do think that is part of the reason this body was created, is to support these efforts, and look forward to seeing that discussed and implemented. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and there are no more speakers with their hands up, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. With that, we'll close public comment on the consent calendar items, and I'll look for a motion. Councilmember Barnacle.
Yeah, I'll make a quick comment on the energy efficiency audits as well. Certainly excited to see these move forward. Would love to see our charter get amended so we can use the design build. It's a struggle to spend $300,000 when there's going to be quite a bit of duplicated work probably. Definitely want to lend my support to that. Also just want to echo what Mr. Peters said and making sure that we tap at least the Buildings Ad Hoc on the Climate Commission, because we're pretty stacked with expertise. And with that, I will move the whole consent calendar.
Thank you. And Vice Mayor?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion by Barnacle and a second by Posake. And Corey, I see you. Did you want to speak? No, okay. So with that, we will have a roll call vote.
Barrett,
Yes.
Barnacle,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Healy,
Yes?
McDonald,
Yes.
Posake.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. With that, we're on to public hearing for matters of consideration. Item number 13, which is the first reading and introduction of ordinances changing certain appropriations for the operations of the city of Petaluma from July 1 to June 30 of 2023. Resolution updating the authorized and funded permanent position schedule, and resolution authorizing the commitment and release of various general fund reserves for specific uses. The finding and environmental analysis for compliance with CEQA was already completed with each adjustment, transfer, and encumbrance, and this action is not a project pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section 15378B5. And now Corey will want to speak.
Thank you, Mayor Barrett and members of the City Council. The city reviews its budget on a continual basis. 3 budget adjustment reports are typically presented annually, one at first quarter, one at mid-year, and the final at year-end. The proposed first quarter budget adjustments before you this evening are to the adopted budget for fiscal year 22-23. The majority of the budget adjustments presented are resulting from council action since July 1st of 2022, along with prior year unused budget appropriations. A detailed list of all budget adjustments is included in the staff report. GASB statement number 54 requires that fund balances committed and released for specific purposes be authorized by resolution of City Council. This includes commitments and releases for general plan and artificial turf replacement. So we are recommending the commitment of approximately $555,000 of general fund reserves. That's $424,000 for general plan update and $131,000 for artificial turf replacement. As well, we are also releasing $742,000 for the general plan update. So with that, it is recommended this evening that the City Council introduce the attached ordinances to amend appropriation budgets for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2023. It's also recommended that the council adopt the resolution committing and releasing general fund reserves for specific uses, along with the resolution updating the authorized and funded position schedule. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. And I do not have any public comment on this item. Are there any questions from council on this item? Not seeing any. I will ask our moderator to see if there's anybody in the Zoom audience who would like to speak to this item.
At this point, if there's anyone in the public that would like to speak on this item, please raise your virtual hand.
Madam Mayor, there is no one with their hands raised.
Thank you. We will close public comment on this item and bring it back to the council. So is there a motion on the council?
I'll move the item.
Thank you. Council member.
I'll second.
Okay, as a motion by Barnacle and a second by Fisher, and we'll have a roll call vote.
Barrett,
Yes.
Barnacle,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Healy,
Yes?
McDonald,
Yes.
Posake.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, and thank you, Corey. Okay, and now we're on to item 14, which is a resolution appointing the youth members to the Youth Commission, and finding this item is not a project pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section 15378B2. And our city clerk, Kendall Sawyer, will give us this presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you may recall, there are 19 vacancies for youth members on the Youth Commission at this time. We have an ongoing recruitment for those positions. We are accepting applications and bringing them forward to City Council for appointment as we receive them. So since the last time I brought these forward to you, we've received 4 applications. They were from Sophia, Megan, Matthew, and Teresa. We have noticed since we published this report, Teresa does not live within the Petaluma Schools District boundary, which is a requirement to be on the commission. So staff is recommending the appointment of Sophia, Megan, and Matthew unless there's any opposition.
Thank you very much. And no comments from the council, and we do not have any public speakers here at City Hall, and I'm assuming you have received no public comment on that?
No public comments received.
Thank you, and I will ask our moderator to see if there's anyone with a raised hand in the Zoom audience.
If there's anyone online that would like to make a comment, please raise your hand now. And Madam Mayor, we have no one with their hands raised.
Thank you. With that, we will close public comment on this item and bring it back to the council for a motion. Councilmember Fisher?
I'll move approval to put on Youth Commission Sophia, Megan, and Matthew.
And
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Fisher, second by the Vice Mayor Posake, and we'll have a roll call vote.
Barrett,
Yes?
Barnacle,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Healy,
Yes?
McDonald,
Yes.
Posake.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And again, if anybody is interested in running for that, I think it would be a good year to do that. So spread the word. Thank you. And with that, we're done with this evening's business, and we will be adjourning at 7:30. So thank you very much.